So we're back for another edition of the Vandy program. We're talking politics today, and we are talking with Angel Oakley, who is a candidate in Illinois' 3rd District. She's running as a Republican against a Democratic incumbent who said some interesting things, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Angel, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave.
And so as we're recording this, it's July 1st, and that means 4th of July picnics and celebrating the 250th. And I saw your schedule. It's kind of busy the next few days. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we are pretty busy. We've got a parade in Warrenville on Friday evening and then festivities. And then Saturday, there are parades throughout the district. I think in total there are 10. So I can only be in so many places, but we're hoping to have volunteers in the other locations that I can't be at. But I'm personally going to be marching in Wheaton and Glen Ellen. And Sunday, we have a parade in Bartlett. So I think there is also a parade going on in West Chicago, but we do not have a float in that one.
And this speaks to something that we talked about the last time that we were on a call together, the gerrymandered district that you're in, which is Illinois' 3rd District. It is rather interestingly shaped, but it's also done in such a way that there's a good chunk of city folks that will perhaps voice-wise drown out the suburban folks.
Yeah, we've got over 240,000 voters in Chicago, and then just under 200,000 in the suburbs. That includes suburban Cook and suburban DuPage.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. So let's talk about your opponent, Delia Ramirez, and what she said yesterday. So yesterday, for folks who didn't know, the Supreme Court ruled in favor, or in the decision of Trump v. Barbara, they ruled in favor of keeping birthright citizenship status quo. It sounded like it opened up a door for Congress to do something or for a constitutional amendment. But these are very difficult things that would involve quite a bit of work on the part of Congress. But what was interesting yesterday, and Bill Melugin, who's a reporter with Fox, posted this on X yesterday afternoon. I'm going to read from it. It says that Representative Delia Ramirez, Democrat from Illinois, celebrates SCOTUS decision upholding birthright citizenship, pointing out that her own mother crossed the U.S. border illegally while pregnant with her. Here's the quote. Today and always, I am the proud, defiant daughter of Maria Elvira Ramirez Guerra, a Guatemalan immigrant who crossed the border pregnant with me. And regardless of what some of my colleagues might call me, I am a citizen by birthright and an American, end quote. So I guess, first of all, Angel, your thoughts on that quote in general.
She has been very defiant. I'll agree with that. She had proposed a bill, I think the Born in the USA Act last year, to make sure that anyone born on the soil in this country, regardless of how they ended up here, would be a citizen. And I think it really misses the overall intent of our birthright citizenship. And the fact that it does say under the jurisdiction thereof, and that's a really important piece. And it's important when you're looking at this birthright tourism that's happening, where we have people just coming over here pregnant to have children so that they can at any time in their life claim their citizenship to the United States, becomes very problematic because we lose the shared culture. We run the risk that we will have all of these citizens that are not assimilated, that they don't value our founding documents and the uniqueness of America. I saw her in an interview a while back in which she said, America has never been great for poor people or black people. And I thought that was quite a slap in the face too. Well, wasn't her mother poor when she came over? And I think she's doing just fine today. I grew up to a single mother, and we were on welfare for a period of time. And my mom was working her way through college, and I worked very hard even as a kid. I think that poor people can do exceptionally well in this country, unlike other countries, especially socialist countries, because you can come here and you can create a business and you can work really hard, or you can go get a job with a big company and do exceptionally well when you came from absolutely nothing. And then I also look at how many black people have done incredibly well in this country. So I think she often throws out the social justice tropes and looks for that support from the Democratic Party, and I think that it's really doing a disservice to the greatness of our country.
One of the thoughts that I had as you were answering that question, one of the thoughts that I had is the rise of the Democratic Socialists, and we've seen that in New York City. We've seen that just yesterday in Colorado, and these are ideals that it seems like your opponent kind of mimics a lot of what the Democratic Socialists are asking for. And I think I saw a stat yesterday. There were 28 candidates who are Democratic Socialists, avowed Democratic Socialists, who are have made it through their primary, and in a lot of cases, like in New York City, where it's a very much a Democratic district, they will win in the fall. But this does not portend very well for the rest of the country, does it?
Well, she is a proud progressive socialist who studied, her undergrad was in justice studies. And so that is her entire focus. And she has a lot of support from certain individuals, within that movement to amplify and increase the voice of the progressive faction of the Democrat Party. And she's number 4 on the ideological scale. If you go to GovTrack, she's number 430 out of 435 as far as being left on the ideological scale. So she is the most progressive and left candidate in Illinois, and is right up there with the Squad and Tlaib in the entire U.S. Congress. So when you look at votes, like we had a recent bill to honor police officers who die in the line of duty. Now they're defending our rights, and they die, and that was unanimously agreed upon except for Tlaib and Ramirez. So we had 2 members of Congress that did not agree that we should honor our police officers when they die in the line of duty. And again, that's another slap in the face to our country. We need law and order, and she does not believe in.
So it's really interesting, actually, to think about the fact that we're gearing up for America 250, which has also become politicized because people have their own idea in their head of this is what a 250th anniversary is supposed to look like, 250th birthday for America is supposed to look like. Yet, if the MAGA folks are in charge, we want it to look a certain way, and it's not this way. And I noticed that among the, I believe, 11 states that have decided not to take part in the Great American State Fair in Washington, D.C., where each state can have their own display, Illinois is, of course, one of them, and Governor Pritzker has said no, I'm not participating. But it seems like that is part of what we're missing in American politics is number one, the ability to put aside any sort of party differences for love of country, do the country over party thing that people talk about all the time. And number two, just the ability to celebrate and to mingle with others that you may not agree with, but you can share a beverage with and toast America and look forward to better days.
Yeah, I'm relatively shocked that they they have not gotten on board to make a really big deal about the 250 and celebrate it and be proud of the accomplishments in our country because they are many and we are in a place in which some people, no matter what Trump does, even if it's the greatest thing, they will decide to fight against it. Sky is blue, no, the sky is green. And this is where we are. But as far as the socialists, I am interested to see what kind of presence they'll have for the 4th of July parade, because they certainly made a big deal out of the last two parades with Juneteenth and then the Pride Parade. And will they give our country's Independence Day as much attention? I don't know. But I think that there are a lot of Democrats that are much more reasonable and in the middle, and they're not sure what to make of the fact that the progressive socialists are taking over. And I think many of them are wanting to say that socialism is a good thing because that's what they have in Denmark and they're the happiest place on earth, and they want to have some feel-good ideology there that we're going to take care of everybody. But unfortunately, if we study history and we really look at how that's played out over time, it has not gone well. You're giving bureaucrats a lot of power, and ultimately that leads to corruption. And you see what happened in Venezuela. And for those that haven't studied that history, I highly recommend they dig into that and look at what happens when you give the government control over industry and how then the means of production slim down, and it is only what the government wants to give you and what the government is going to sanction. And so many of us in this country are blessed beyond measure by the amount of choice we have for things, and that goes away. And I personally feel like it's worth fighting for free market capitalism. I am not for crony capitalism, and there is a big difference. And I think unfortunately our young people have bought into the line of socialism because they see the crony capitalism and they think capitalism isn't working. But capitalism is a way to vote with your dollar, and they have the choice to not support Amazon if they don't like Amazon, if they don't like Walmart or these big companies. They can decide not to support them and shop elsewhere, and then their money will produce the types of companies that they want to see in the world. So I'm all for keeping our country as it is today. I love the premise that our founders had with individualism, and I strongly support all of that.
We were talking earlier about the difficulties of separating socialism as you perceive it, like you were just talking about Denmark, and specifically separating that thought and concept in or using healthcare as an example of somewhere that, boy, a socialized medicine approach really does not work. And you look at some countries and see the challenges they have. I was on with my friend Andrew Donaldson last week. We were talking about a single payer and the problems with the NHS in the UK, and he had mentioned that the Veterans Administration, which I know has made great strides over the years, is still the largest example of single payer medicine in the U.S., and there are some issues, and it is a bureaucracy. And so we were talking earlier about the challenges with socialized medicine specifically, and how if we ended up with that as a single payer healthcare system in the US, we might be really screwed.
Yeah, well, it means that there are bureaucrats deciding what you can and cannot have done. Um, we have a lot of that already because much of the commingling between the federal government and the insurance companies uh, really dictates, what we're allowed to get as far as healthcare. I mean, why do we have to argue about getting a vitamin D test? I asked the doctor for a vitamin D test and they say no because it's not covered by insurance. Well, I don't care. I'll pay for it. Just run the thing. And then you say, well, who made that decision that checking vitamin D was not a good thing? And, why am I getting a mammogram? I have dense breast tissue and it doesn't show anything, and it says that on every mammogram. Why do I go get the mammogram? Oh, because it's free and they tell you to go get it. Why? Because the insurance companies and the government decided that that's the healthcare you should get, instead of maybe getting an ultrasound or a thermogram, which might be better for you. And so we lose the ability to have choice, and yet we still have to pay these big premiums to cover everybody else. I mean, I'm all for emergency care. I think we can get to a place in which emergency care can be covered overall, or should definitely not break the bank for anybody. But this idea of the chronic illnesses, or even just our general maintenance, there's so much variety in how people handle their health or want their health handled. And I think that we are way over our britches talking about single payer for the entire country, because we know that even within the military, there are plenty of people that are not happy with what they get out of the VA, and so they have private insurance, and they go and use that. So it is not a utopia, and given how chronically ill our country is, it's also going to bankrupt us. And I'm always distraught by watching families that go in to a medical institution, especially when they have a child who's sick or even a newborn, and they disagree with what the doctors want to do. And then we see the state just intervenes and takes custody. And these parents are not able to make choices for their child's health. That's a real problem, and it becomes more and more of a problem as you empower government to be that final arbiter. And so I thought that the Democrats were for this choice. Was that, aren't they for choice? And choice would be that we're not dictating the type of care that everybody has to have. So it is complex, but I think that if we really want to be able to make emergency care available for people, then we have to address the chronic disease epidemic, which is really what Kennedy has been trying to do. And really, I think that the Democrats, rather than fighting it all the time, should be trying to work together to come up with solutions that can be 80-20, things that 80% of the population or better can get around.
What are some of the other, I know you've had a lot of conversations with voters in your district, trying to reach across the aisle as much as you can. What are some of the other hot button issues that folks are bringing up to you?
The cost of living is such a big deal. The taxes, they are just so upset about taxes across the board. Property taxes are always a big one, but even for those that rent, in Illinois, our gas is $1 more per gallon than Indiana. Well, 76% or 76 cents of that is just the fact that we have that much tax for the state. Then we have the tolls are going up, I think by 45 cents more per toll. And that really adds up. You take my daughter's an electrician, and she's driving all over the place, having to go to job sites. And I'm looking at the toll costs, And then, how many times she's buying gas. And it's crazy how much money she spends on gas and tolls. And then you look at the cost of cars, so expensive. And then, of course, Illinois taxes that. So, I love that they come out and they think they're going to stand on a platform of the economy or making things better when we live in a completely Democrat-run state. And we get taxed out the wazoo as just a regular citizen, not a billionaire, and I don't see them changing that anytime soon because they keep spending more and more and have to find different ways to tax us.
If you're gunning for a congressional seat, some of that is going to be out of your purview.
Some
So
of
what are the things that you would want to tackle that could fight the cost of living crisis?
So a Food Freedom Act is in my purview, and that would be basically saying that local municipalities or HOAs could not say that individuals couldn't grow food. I think that the fact that we have food insecurity in this country is crazy. We have so much land, and people should be empowered to be able to grow food. We shouldn't have food insecurity if people can grow their own food. And there are places that prohibit that, and we should have some guidelines that just say certain things, unless there can be evidence presented that it causes some sort of negative health impact to other neighbors or those surrounding you, that growing food should be allowed on someone's property. And then housing, as far as housing's concerned, we really should address the fact that we had so many foreign entities buy up our properties. That was a big problem. We had China bought so many properties and was putting them all on Airbnb. And so we have all of these houses or apartments or condos that are empty because they're investments, whether it be by a foreign entity or these big companies. And I know they did have a bill in which Delia voted against it, which would, I think it was stopping foreign interests, especially if they were our adversaries, from buying farmland. And she voted against it. But that's a big one because I don't think we would have the housing issue that we have today if that hadn't happened, and that happened during COVID. Just think, we lost so many people. We had so many people die during COVID, so why do we have a housing shortage if that many people died? Because the property was bought up. Then energy. If you look at your energy bill in Illinois, about a third of it is taxes. So again, we're going to go back to they tax everything every which way, and your biggest expenses are your food, your house, your energy bills. Insurance has gotten out of control, but insurance prices went up because we have so much crime in Illinois, and insurance companies have to recoup their costs. So my car, the insurance went up because catalytic converters were being stolen. Well, if we were cracking down on crime, my insurance would be lower. So there are a lot of things that on a federal level, we can help with. If we have a legislature in Illinois that wants to cooperate, we can do a lot of federal and state partnerships that make our streets safer, reduce our taxes, make sure that people don't have food insecurity, and that we have housing inventory.
So you've got the 4th of July coming up, and then what is after the weekend of parades and events? What's next on Angel Oakley's schedule?
Yeah, the summer is so busy. There are outdoor events everywhere. I mean, I love Chicago and the suburbs because there's always so much fun stuff to do over the summer. We have outdoor concerts that are happening in so many different municipalities, phenomenal farmers markets, festivals. downtown areas that are thriving with great restaurants and shops. So we're going to be focusing on being where the people are and talking to them, changing hearts and minds. And we will have some of those things up on the site, but otherwise, if people want to go ahead and sign up on the site and volunteer, we'll be sharing the calendar of where we'll be.
And give me a 30-second, you run into a potential voter, they're independent. What do you tell them?
We've never been more divided in my 50 years of life than we are today. And I want to get back to a country in which we can have differing views and we can have vigorous, robust debate and come up with better solutions because we can have those hard conversations and find common ground and make this country work for the majority of people again, instead of being so polarized and hating on our neighbor, because that's not the America that I remember growing up, and it's not the America I want for my grandkids.
Angel Oakley, candidate for Illinois' 3rd Congressional District. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.